morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Carrie Linklater. I'm your chairperson today. And I'm joined on the panel by Mr. Robert Buss to my left, and my far left, Mr. Robert Bullock. Our city assessor today is Rob Lucky, and our admin secretary is Buddha Aziz. We will be hearing applications for the revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. If you could swear everybody in, and if everyone could just make sure their phones are turned off.
You have the option to swear the Bible. Good. Please state your full name.
Robert Lucky.
And do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Second.
Thank you. Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm?
Oh, please affirm.
Okay. Please state your full name.
Wesley Van Bruggen?
And do you affirm the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning, gentlemen. Welcome from Calgary.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like to start us off, Mr. Lucky, 213 Langside.
Okay, thanks. 213 Langside Street is one building, 3 stories. The original actual date is, construction date is 1927.
Excuse me, Mr. Lucky, sorry, could you just read out the roll number for us, please?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
It's my first hearing this round, so
I know, it's fine.
sorry. Right, 213 Langside Street, roll number 120908 90500. And as I said, 213 Langside Street was built in 1927, updated over the years, and has an effective age of 1970. There's 18 suites, 12 parking stalls. There's all the I&Es are up to date, and there's some older sales which don't really apply. So on page 3, we've valued this property as we did them all on the income approach. And there's 15 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms. Our model rent is overall is $926.69. Now that includes laundry, parking, everything. That's basically the total gross income divided by the suite number. And then in that area, the model vacancy rate is 2.6%. So with that, we arrived at a effective gross income of $194,961, which I have as being almost exactly the actual for the subject. The expenses model are 96,642, which is quite a bit less than actual. And our net operating income is 98,319. The cap rate is 5.3, and rounded, that gives us assessment at $1,855,000, which I believe is in line with the area and the actual income and expenses, and I would ask that you maintain that assessment. We have some comparable rents which support the subject income. We have all our model cap rates here, and also attached is the 2017 return from the owner. Being that the effective date of the assessment, April 1st, 2018, we use the full year of 17 as the basis for the assessment. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Okay, thank you. Do you have questions of the assessor?
Just a couple of quick questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in terms of the capitalization rate. So the capitalization rate used for this property was 5.3%, is that correct?
Right.
Now, when calculating a capitalization rate, I see that you've provided information on page 5 under capitalization rates. A table is provided there, is that correct?
Right.
Now, within this table, you have a variety, a range of capitalization rates. When looking at capitalization rates, does the City of Winnipeg consider the area that the property is in?
We consider many factors. This area, building size, building age, quality, that type of thing.
And do you have any support? Do you have anything to support a 5.3? Any sales that support your assessment? So currently, the property has that 5.3% capitalization rate, assessed at $103,000 per suite. Do you have any sales that would support that $103,000 per suite or the 5.3% capitalization rate?
I do. If you could just distribute these.
I think we got this.
Is it in yours?
I didn't receive
Is
any.
this what, single page? I have a single page.
Single page, is that it?
Which page?
Yeah.
Which page in the pack?
It was separate.
I thought that I had put them in all of them, but,
I didn't receive a separate page.
oh,
I received, maybe we can go through the evidence. I received an evidence package that was, what appears to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double-sided pages.
Yeah, and then there should have been one additional separate page.
Oh, I did not get that, so, all right. Everyone else got it, I'm assuming? Okay,
Um,
okay.
so besides the model, then we were, to further fine-tuned. We included actual sales with cap rates for all the categories that we assess, and for multifamily, we have 191 Roach, 394 Talbot, 285 Maxwell, and 333 Ward.
Are any of these properties located in the downtown core?
I would call Talbot downtown core.
Talbot downtown core?
Yeah, the subject is in the downtown of Winnipeg, but it's also a very good rental area. There are a lot of students. It's whether you're talking West Broadway or West End, or the rents are very high, actually probably higher than, or at least consistent with these other areas.
Fair enough.
Ward is obviously a newer wood frame, large structure, but the other ones are probably somewhat consistent with the subject.
All right, thank you.
Is that all your questions?
That's all my questions.
Mr. Foote?
I do have a question. Can I ask you to turn to your page 3?
Okay.
Normally, when you take the average monthly rent per unit, that's $926.69, and times 18, comes to 166,804. So I'm wondering whether there must be some other revenue that made it up to 200,000.
Fair point.
I think you said earlier that it included,
But he said that included everything.
Right.
And then I thought, well, maybe that's why it wasn't built up. Normally, you see that ad, and then they add the laundry, the parking, the whole way to get the total. So I just multiplied 926.69 times 18, and it doesn't come to $200,000. Now, when I look at,
No, that's what I have.
huh?
No? 926.69 times 18 times 12. 201.65 is the potential.
Yeah, I made one mistake. Okay.
And then, well, you got me there. Because I only multiplied it by, I didn't multiply
No,
it
you're
by
right,
the-
you're right.
Okay, good, the computer's right.
And then, but the reason I wasn't that, because when I looked at what the actual rent, based on this other page that was supplied, I mean, it was very close to,
Yeah, I should point out that, before the assessments go, we do what we call a percent change report. And, well, first of all, when we do assessments, like after this hearing and we get the decision, we look and we see if our model isn't generating the right assessment. So then we change the model so that next go around, we're hopefully not sitting here again. But before the assessments go, we do what is called a percent change report. And all the outliers, we look at them. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 of us spend actually overtime looking at as many as we can to see why like some are below and some are above the average increases. This one, I think, hardly increased at all from the previous reassessment, but that's neither here nor there. So somebody, because it's so accurate, somebody probably looked at it and fine-tuned it, put it right on the numbers.
Thank you, I apologize for my
Oh,
error.
no problem.
Is that all your questions, Mr.
Yes, that's it,
Okay.
sorry.
Mr. Bus?
Yes, the effective age 1970 from the original age of 1927, does that affect the cap rate? Would the cap rate be higher?
It does, yes.
Has there been any work, do you have any permits or anything for any work done to the building recently? Say after the sales, you're showing sales here from, the latest sale is 2010. Is any of the work done after 2010?
I don't know. I'm not sure when the effective age was changed, to be quite honest. But a lot of the buildings in that area were completely retrofitted, so I'm guessing this is one. I haven't been in the property.
Okay, thank you for that. That's all my questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Lucky, you've just stated you have not inspected this property.
I have not.
Can you tell me when the last time it was inspected?
I don't have that information.
Okay. So can you speak to can you speak to the condition of the building at all?
No.
You don't have any pictures of it?
You don't have an MLS listing, because it would be back in 2010, I think that was the last sale.
Right, since then, our values have more than doubled.
Okay, so you don't know then, you've got the effective age at 1970, so you don't know what is giving it that effective age in terms of,
No, other
Remodeling
than
of
somebody
any kind?
at some point would have looked at the building when it was retrofitted and changed the age as a result of permits. But I don't have the information when that was
Okay.
done.
and you would agree an effective age of 1970 is making this building 50 years old?
That would be 50 years.
Yeah. Parking is included in this rent?
Right, see the,
I don't,
it's a total number. When we get information from the owners often, the income isn't broken down. We just get one number.
right,
So to try and keep them all on an even keel, we just use one number. We don't know, some buildings, the laundry's included, some it's not, some don't have laundry.
right. Page 3 of your brief is model driven?
Well, as I mentioned, somebody could have looked at it and fine-tuned it to the actuals, because it's quite close, but the model drives these numbers.
Right. Page 4 is model driven on your rent comparables?
The rent comparables I chose. When I put in neighborhoods, and certain parameters, it pulls up a whole bunch. Maybe I went through 30, 40 properties and checked the 4 that seemed like they're most appropriate. But these aren't necessarily the 4 that came up with the model rent. These are 4 that I chose.
Okay, but sorry, these are model rents then, they're not actual.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Did you write the brief?
Well, I composed it, I guess.
Okay. Do you know if these rents are subsidized at all?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay. And your cap rate evidence, your single sheet here, I don't, like Ward Avenue, isn't inner city.
Right. These four are for the whole city. Like
Right,
we put this in every brief,
right,
regardless of the location or age of the property.
okay. So you're familiar with the Ward Avenue property?
Right, I am.
Yeah, you've seen the pictures of Ward Avenue?
I think we've all familiar
Yeah.
with the word.
Yeah,
I've seen the
So-
appraisals.
yes.
Yeah.
So would you really consider Ward a good comparison?
No,
No. And Talbot Avenue?
those properties the other three would reflect somewhat similar type of investor. These would be properties that,
But Talbot Avenue is an inner city. Langside is inner city.
right, I
Um,
guess depending what you call the inner city, but
Maxwell Place?
this I think is, not sure where Maxwell Place is. I think it's in St. Patel.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And Roche Street?
Roach is in Elmwood.
So same as Talbot.
Right.
So you really, with these four comparables for cap rate, you really have nothing that's inner city.
Well, whether that's good or bad, none of these four are in the subject area.
Thank you, that's all my questions. If you'd like to give us your presentation?
Excellent, thank you very much, Madam Chair. The board will open my presentation. It should be a 41-page evidence package, the evidence brief that you have before you. If the board will turn with me to page 3, I'll get brief started. So just so you know, I'm used to going first, so if I go too deep, just kind of feel free to hurry me along. So I do apologize in advance. So the issue that we have before this property is the capitalization rate and looking at sales of similar properties. So page 4 is the assessment document, or information that was collected from the City of Winnipeg assessment search. So this was provided to us by the owner. So this is just showing the income parameters which are used for the property. Page 5 is the income parameters that we've used when looking at the value of this property. So again, some of the numbers I have are a little bit different. I was using an income and expense statement that was provided by the owner of the property. I didn't actually look at the information that was submitted. So again, the numbers are similar within a couple $1,000s, but that's why if you cross-reference, there's going to be some variance, a slight variance in terms of what I'm using versus what the City of Winnipeg has used.
So the main difference is the cap rate.
Exactly, that's the main issue that we have. The other parameters, I'm not as concerned about. If the board will turn with me to page 6, so page 6 we just have maps showing the location of the subject property on 213 Langside. This was collected from the City of Winnipeg Assessments website. And then page 7 we have a satellite map. This is used courtesy of Google Earth. Again, just showing the location of 213 Langside. You can see it in the middle of the page there. Page 8, we just have 2 exterior photos of the property in question. So the front and the side. The property that we're looking at is on the right-hand side of that top picture. So there's 2 buildings in there. It's the property on the right-hand side. Page 9 is the valuation procedures. So just looking at the income again, which is collected from the income statement. And then if the board will turn with me to page 10, this is where we'll start talking. So on page 10, what we have done is we've identified several properties that have sold within this area. These 2 properties are 512 Balmoral and 277 Langside. The year of construction of these properties, again, the age that we're looking at is 1972 and 1974. The effective age as defined by the City of Winnipeg where the subject property is 1970. Looking at the number of suites, 28 suites, 47 suites, and 18 suites, so a little bit higher. When we looked at the average suite size, so again, we've taken the overall building area and divided by the number of suites. Again, just because we don't have the suite mix, we're not privy to that information, we kind of look at that information as a code. Sale date of these two properties, one transacted March 5th, 2018 for 1.7 million. The second one transacted January 5th, 2018 for 3 million. When we look, the NOI was calculated, again, I apologize, in this situation we don't have access to the model NOI for each one of these properties, so we have to make some assumptions and fudge the numbers a little bit. So what I've done is I've taken a look at what the income is for our property on a income per suite. These properties are located in the West Broadway area. Taking that income, and that was calculated by net operating income divided by the number of suites. That gets me a value of $545,462.17 per suite. Just multiplying that by the number of suites gets us our estimated net operating income for each one of those properties. So you can see for 512 Balmoral, we are using an estimated NOI of $152,941, and for 277 Langside, an estimated NOI of $256,722. Again, the reason for the differences in those NOIs has to do with the number of suites in each one of those properties. Using the estimated NOI and dividing it by the sale price, we get a calculated capitalization rate of 8.74% for 512 Balmoral and 8.56% for 277 Langside. Again, just reminding the board that the property has been assessed with a capitalization rate of 5.3%. The board will turn with me to page 11. Again, understanding that the challenge that we face is we don't actually have the net operating income for each one of the properties. So the other factor we looked at was what is the value per suite of each one of these buildings. So again, value per suite can be difficult to calculate as we didn't have a suite mix. So what we've done is we've taken the sale price of each one of the properties and divided that by the number of suites in that property. So you can see for the subject property, 213 Langside, when we take the assessment of $1,855,000 and divide it by the 18 suites, we get a resulting assessment per suite of $103,056. We also have the assessment per square foot, where we take the value of the assessed value of the building and divide it by the total area of the building, and we see that the assessed value per square foot is $112.32. For each one of the two comparables that we brought forward, 512 Balmoral and 512 Balmoral is located in the neighborhood of Spence, which is located right beside the neighborhood of West Broadway. When we add 277 Langside, we see that each one of these properties sold for a value per suite of $62,500 and $63,830. Additionally, when we look at the sale price per square foot, we see that these sale price per square foot are close to the $80 mark. So $79 per square foot and $83 per square foot. Again, comparing that to the subject property, which is assessed at $112 per square foot. So again, the issue that we have is when we look at sales and we look at capitalization rates, the challenge that is always faced is saying, are the properties that are being used to calculate that capitalization rate actually similar to the subject property? And how do we determine that? So we provided the two sales that we believe are the best indicators within the sales that we've seen within that market. If the board will turn with me to page 12. So page 12, we have a map of the sales. So these are just so what we've done is we've mapped out those sales on a map system where we can show where they are in location to the subject property. So again, you can see that they are in fairly close, both sales are in fairly close proximity to the subject property that we're speaking of today. Page 13 are some external photos of each one of those sales. So the first sale is 513 Balmoral, so you can see that on page 13. And then on page 14, we have 277 Langside. Finally, if the board will turn with me to page 15. So sorry, and I apologize in advance. at the beginning, I caught that you said that you don't look at assessments as market indicators, so I do apologize. That was provided before I had that information. But what we had done is we just looked at a number of properties that are located within this particular area. Again, unfortunately, I don't have the years of construction of these properties. What we can do is we can just look at the number of units. We can look at the assessments and the assessment per suite. And again, when we look at this, well, admittedly, this is not something that the board would take into consideration. You can see that the property in question at 213 Langside is assessed quite a bit higher, roughly 10% higher and more than the other properties within the area. So again, suggesting that this property may not be correctly assessed. So on page 16, under conclusions, so again, we've looked at this particular property. The property has been assessed at a value of $855,000 with a 5.3% capitalization rate. Using the two sales that we've identified, and we've an 8.5% capitalization rate, MMP has arrived at a valuation of $1,193,000. Additionally, when we're looking at the sales within the area, looking at the sale price per suite and the sale price per square foot, we're arriving at a value of $1,137,000. So again, taking this into consideration, we're requesting a value of about $1.2 million for this property based on the information that we get through the capitalization rate as well as the sales. So feeling that that would probably be a reasonable value for this property, considering other properties in the area. The board will turn with me to starting on page 17. So this is the supporting documentation that has been provided. Moving on to page 42, this is the income and expense statement for the particular property that we're provided. So this shows 2017 and 2018 revenue as well as the expenses for each one of those properties, or for that property. Starting on page 20, moving until page, sorry, give me 1 second here. Moving until page 32, these are just the supporting assessments for the assessment comparables which were brought forward. Again, realizing now that that's not considered. Starting on page 33, this is the evidence for the sales. So this information was taken from the Johnson report. On page 35, you can find 3 sales here. So we believe we used 2. The third sale was, I think, the 142 Furby was accidentally included. But you can see 512 Balmoral there, selling for the value of $1,750,000, or the sale price per suite of $62,500. And you can see 277 Langside, year construction, the age of that in 1974, 74 units, selling for $3 million, or a value per suite of $63,830 per suite. And you can see the sale dates on those, for each one of those particular properties. Following that, moving to page 38, pages 38 to the end of the document are just supporting documentation, so the notice of assessment as well as the hearing notice for that particular property. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I welcome any questions from the assessor, from the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lucky, did you have any questions?
I did. Page 5. So you have the assessment parameters and then you have actual.
Correct.
So what year is that actual?
I believe the actual is 2018. So again, I apologize. If you go on page 9, you can see the difference between you can see 2018 and 2017. The difference is a couple $1,000s in terms of what that impact would be. So
the actual NOI would be 105,736.
that'd be correct, yeah.
Okay. And your cap rate sales on, page 10, you kinda lost me there, how you arrived, like, so, the sales at Balmoral and Langside, you don't actually have any income and expense information?
No, I don't. We don't, unfortunately, we don't represent those properties. So what we've done, again, understanding that that these values are model driven, we've taken the net operating income for 213 Langside. Because again, this is a property that's a similar year of construction, 1970. The other two properties are 1972 and 1974. It's located within a similar area, so 213 Langside is located in West Broadway, 277 Langside is located in West Broadway, 512 Balmoral is located in Spence, so again, an area that is located fairly close. We've taken that assessed net operating income from the city of Winnipeg. We've divided it by the number of units within this property. So the assessed income of $98,319, which was assessed by the city of Winnipeg, divided by the number of units within the building, 18. This gets us a assessed NOI per suite. That assessed NOI per suite is $5,462. We've then taken that assessed NOI per suite, multiplied it by each one of the suites in 512 Balmoral and 277 Langside to get what our estimated NOI is. So again, the rationale being that the city of Winnipeg uses a model to generate what the NOI is, that the assumption would be that if this model is used for similar properties within the area, similar age of construction, similar locations, that should be, those parameters would probably be pretty similar to be used for those particular properties as well. Then that's how we've arrived at that estimated NOI. Then taking that estimated NOI, we've divided that by sale price to end up with our resulting capitalization rates of 8.74% and 8.56%. The secondary check has been looking at the value per suite. As again, that is a little bit, that there's less in play there. So you can find that on page 11. Simply, the value per suite is taking the sale price of each one of those properties, dividing it by the number of suites to get what that value is per suite or the value per square foot. Again, just providing a secondary indication of what we're looking at for the board.
So I guess the yes or no question is, these cap rates don't reflect the actual performance of these two sales?
No, that is correct.
Okay, no more questions.
Thank you. Robert?
I don't know. Sorry. Two Roberts.
I know.
She's going next to you. Next.
No, who's got, no
Oh, me?
questions?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Best?
On page 35,
Yes.
you've introduced another property there.
Sorry, that was sorry, I'll let you finish your question.
142 Furby. My question is, did you work out a cap rate for that one?
No, I did not. To be perfect, I'll be perfectly honest. When I was redacting this, it was just simply one of the ones that I missed as I was redacting. So it's there. I'd forgotten to take it out. We can calculate it easily enough by using the assessed NOI or
Your same system as
the same
before?
system as we've done before. If the board is interested, I can tell you what that would be. Certainly, but that yeah.
Okay, my other question is, the information on the two cap rate sales that you provided, did you happen to talk to Mr. Lucky and ask him maybe if he could provide information on the actual NOIs for those properties?
I did not, unfortunately. I'll be perfectly honest. I did not. I didn't think about it, and I wasn't aware that that was a road I could go down. So next time.
Maybe my question could be to the assessor. Did you have that information ahead of time that you would have worked those cap rates out with the proper NOIs?
Well, these cap rate sales are used by other companies, and they're a lot lower using the actuals. We don't agree with those. But they're in the Altus cap rate study. much lower.
What, I missed that.
These two properties,
Yes.
512 Balmoral and 277 Langside, are in the Altus cap rate study,
Okay.
which you may or may not have seen.
But
But they're a lot lower, the cap rates. I've never seen cap rates of 8% personally.
okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Did you have a chance to inspect this property?
Unfortunately, no, I have not. I've only driven by the exterior of the property.
Okay, so you don't have any pictures of the interior?
Unfortunately, no, I do not.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of the condition of the property?
In what sense?
What the finishings are? It's got an effective age of 1970, so.
Right. Again, I can't speak specifically to the condition of each unit within the building.
Do you know if there's an issue of vacancy in this building?
I believe 3%. In discussions with the owner, they say about 3% vacancy over the course of the year.
Do you know if the owner has undertaken any major repairs over the last year?
As far as my knowledge is, no, they have not. I've tried to pull up the information, use it. In conversation with the owner, they have not indicated that they've spent any money on major repairs, as well as I've pulled up information from the city of Winnipeg building permits website, and there is nothing beyond the standard typical units that you see.
So no major renovations in
No.
the last?
Couple of years, at least 5 years. Beyond that, I can't see.
Did you bring this property before the board last cycle?
No, this is my first time representing the property.
Okay. Do you know what the previous assessment was?
Previous assessment on this particular property. You know what, I'll be honest, here, let me just, give me one moment here.
It's almost exactly the same.
You know what, I apologize, I don't, I thought I might have it in my information package, but it does not look like I do. I can find out, certainly.
Okay, I'm just gonna redirect Mr. Lucky.
My notes say that the assessment is almost the same as 2018, less than a 1% increase. Our average increase was around 15%.
So what was the actual number?
Less than 1% lower. I don't have the actual number.
Okay.
Almost exactly the same. And it wasn't appealed.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Leave it with us, and we will proceed to, Mr. Lucky, are you gonna be referring to this? Your
would
little
be-
sheet?
Yeah, that's the same for all our properties.
So we'll go on to 53 Furby Street. Mr. Lucky, whenever you wish to start.
53 Furby Street is roll number 120-906-72000. And the assessment is $1,310,000. This is a two-story 1969 building with an effective age of, sorry, does that say 1989?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't have my glasses, they look the same. There's 12 suites, 8 outdoor parking. The mail returns are up to date. Page 3, we have a suite mix of all one bedrooms. There's 12 suites. Our average monthly rent here is $825.01. We in this area is a 2.6% vacancy, and our effective gross income is $115,712, which is considerably lower than the actual of 123. Expense ratio of 46.8%. So our expenses are $54,153 compared to higher $60,000 plus for the subject. So the net result is a very similar net operating income. So our model produced $60,559, and the actual being $63,436. The capitalization rate for this is 4.7. It results in a value of $1,310,000. Page 4, I've looked at comparable rentals in the area. And then we have our cap rate, the model page on 5, and then the actuals that I included. And I would ask that you maintain our assessment of $1,310,000.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of the assessor?
Sorry, just give me one moment here, I apologize.
Sure.
Just a quick question, for outdoor parking stalls, it doesn't really matter, I'll be perfectly honest, but you're saying on page 1 that there's 8, but yet when I look on what was returned to the city of Winnipeg, what page, sorry, I apologize, this would probably be page 7, it says outdoor parking stalls 6. No, I'm just saying what it was indicated in terms of
The owner's indicating that there's 6. Our information is that there's 8.
Okay,
I could
Doesn't-
make a note to have it inspected.
it doesn't really matter, I imagine that at the end of the day, it all gets rolled into the income, so it's not a huge issue, I was just more curious in terms of where that difference
Yeah,
came in.
sometimes it changes, like they end up putting BFI bins or now
Yeah.
these recycling things, and some of the spots get changed over time.
Okay, alright. And I guess in terms of the capitalization rate at 4.7, the capitalization rate that you're using at 4.7, just so I'm clear, so that comes from the model that the city of Winnipeg uses, and then the evidence that you brought forward would be the capitalization rate evidence page that outlines the full
Right.
sales.
Yes.
And again, just to reconfirm, these sales wouldn't be located within the area of West Broadway or Spence.
They're not
Right,
in
those
the
areas.
immediate subject area, no.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. I think that concludes my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
Well done. No questions.
Mr. Weston?
I see this, the suite mix is 12 one-bedroom units. Is that a plus or a minus? Do you want some two-bedroom units in there, or what's your opinion?
The newer buildings are built with more 2 bedrooms. It's just how this one was built, I suppose.
Okay. Do you have any information on the changing of the actual year to the effective year, 20 years, 69 to 89?
No, I don't. To put an effective age at 1989, somebody would have been there and there would have been extensive upgrading. It rings a bell to me, but I don't know. I can't answer truthfully.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Lucky, did you inspect this building?
I haven't, no.
Page 3 and 4 of your brief, they are model driven?
Correct.
Page 5 of your cap rate. Would you
Yes.
consider this a low-rise B?
Yes.
And your cap rate sheet, stating the 4 properties that you're using as evidence. Just curious as to why Ward would have a cap rate of 5. As you had previously suggested, on the previous property, you know, we're all familiar with Ward. It's a nice property, high-rise, new.
Right. The thing that you gotta take into consideration is the pool of buyers. Like this property on Furby would have a huge pool of potential purchasers. Ward, at $18 million, it starts dropping off pretty quick. You know, you're looking at pretty sophisticated people with deep pockets. You know,
So then you're saying the city is stating their cap rates on the number of buyers available?
Well, there's a number of factors. Like I just looked at an appraisal yesterday for a property, the second block on Selkirk Avenue, and the ACI appraiser used 4.75 on Selkirk Avenue, which I think is one of the tougher areas of Winnipeg to get rental. It's constantly in the news. And that independent appraiser, not for tax purposes, used a 4.7 cap rate. This one on Ward, I saw the appraisal. The comparable cap rates used were at 5%, and it happened to sell at about 5% cap rate. There's a number of factors. If you're taking all the risk out of a property, the cap rate should be lower. If you're not, you know, you're using low expenses and low vacancy and everything, the cap rate should be higher. You know, you could have a property in really rough shape, which I don't think this is. And if you take away all the risk, you could still have a low cap rate. Properties that are selling for renovation, as some people call them, are selling at cap rates of 3% and 4%. We don't use those ones. This property has been updated, has been renovated, and you know our model assessments running right on with the actuals. The sales indicate cap rates at about what we're using.
So you've indicated you didn't inspect this property. Do you have anything in your notes as to when it was last inspected?
No, I
No?
don't.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give us your presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Before the board should be a 40-page brief. for this particular property. If the board will turn with me to page 3. So on page 3, we have a description of the property as well as the issues. The issues before the board on this particular property are ones of capitalization rate and sales of similar properties in the area. The board will turn with me to page 4. So page 4 is the current assessment for that particular property. This has been collected by the owner from the City of Winnipeg Assessment Department. Page 5 is our requested assessment. So again, when we've taken this, there's 2 columns here, the assessed and the actual, that you can see there. Again, the numbers are slightly different. We've used the income and expense statement provided by the owner in terms of calculating what that should be. Page 6 is a map which has been provided by the City of Winnipeg. Again, this is just showing the location of 53 Furby, where that is located within the city. And then page 7, we have a satellite map courtesy of Google Maps. Again, just showing the location of the subject property within the City of Winnipeg. Page 8 contains 2 exterior pictures of the property, so one front, one back. And then page 9, we have the valuation procedure, so just showing what the income value for that property is for 2017 and 2018. Page 10 is starting the discussion that we have on the capitalization rate. So as the board can see here, we've used 4 properties. The 4 properties we've used are 613 Yonge, 512 Balmoral, 277 Langside, and 142 Furby. You can see here that the ages of these properties range from 1970 to 1974. The suites range from 9 to 47. Again, when we look at the average suite size, because we don't have the suite mix, so what we've done is we've taken the area of the building divided by the number of suites. We can see that those average suite sizes range from 655 square feet up to 791 square feet. Just in comparison, the subject property has an average suite size of 778 square feet. The sales of these particular properties, properties transacted in 2017 and 2018. Sale prices are located in the column over. Again, we've used a similar format as what we had used for the previous property to determine what the estimated NOI is. So we've taken the assessed income for the particular property from the City of Winnipeg, that's the model-driven income. We've divided that by the number of units. From that, we've arrived at a assessed income per suite of $5,129.92. Using that assessed income per suite, we've multiplied that by each one of the suites that we're looking at, our comparable properties, to get us our estimated net operating income, or estimated NOI. You can see that estimated NOI to the right of the sale price. That estimated NOI, ranges from 46,169 square feet up to $241,000. Then again, taking that estimated NOI, dividing it by the sale price, we get the calculated capitalization rate. So again, just to stress, this capitalization rate is not taken from the actual performance of the properties. Unfortunately, we're unable to gather that information. This is using the information, the model information that was used for our property, and applying it to these properties. Again, these properties are located have similar years of construction, similar ages, are located within similar communities of West Broadway and Spence. From that, we calculate capitalization rates of 7.52% up to 8.55% with an average of 8.08%. The next consideration that we look at is on page 11. So again, what we've done is we've taken these sales, so you can see 2 are in Spence, 2 are in West Broadway, all within the inner city market area. We've taken those sale prices and divided by the number of suites, as well as taken the sale prices and divided by the building area. You can see that the suites value per suite ranges from $60,000 per unit up to $68,182 per unit. And the sale price per square foot ranges from $79 per square foot up to $104.17 per square foot. Again, below you'll see that we've calculated the average and the median for each one of those properties. Now in comparison, the subject property at 53 Furby, this is located in the city, community of West Broadway within the inner city. we're seeing that the assessment of this property results in a assessment per suite of $109,167 and an assessment per square foot of $140.36. So when we compare those to the sales that are occurring within the area, we can see that the subject property has been assessed at a value, again, in MMP's opinion, significantly higher than other properties in the area that are transacting. If the board will turn with me to page 12. Page 12, we have a map. This identifies the location of the subject property in comparison to the sales that we're utilizing. So as you can see, again, the sales that we're utilizing are in fairly close proximity to the subject property at 53 Furby. Starting at page 13, we have exterior pictures of those properties. So the first one is 613 Yonge Street. I apologize for the tree in the way. Unfortunately, that takes away a little bit from the picture, but you gotta get a sense of what that building looks like. Page 14 is 512 Balmoral. So we have a picture of the front and the back of that property. Page 15 is 277 Langside. Page 16, we have 142 Furby. Then if we move to page 17, and again, I apologize for recognizing that the board does not look at assessments as indicators of market value. However, what we see here is within the community, if we look at the property at 53 Furby and look at some other properties within the area that are in terms, and again, I don't have the age, but these are located within the same community, have similar suite sizes, we can see when we look at the assessment per suite that these properties have been assessed significantly lower than the subject property. So if the board will turn with me to page 18. Under our conclusion, so again, we've looked at a couple of different ways to look at this property. The first is using the income approach. So using a capitalization rate of 8.1% derived from similar sales, MMP's arriving at a valuation of $819,000 for this property. Again, the second approach is looking at the sales comparison approach. So looking at the value per suite or the value per square foot, we're getting a value of, resulting in a value of $760,000 for our value for this particular property. So again, when we consider both the income as well as the sales approach, we feel that a value of $760,000 would be appropriate for the 2020 and 2021 assessment years. Starting at page 19, we have supporting documentation. The board will turn with me to page 21. I apologize, the page number is kind of tucked in with the wording there. So we have the income statement for 53 Furby Street. So this shows the 2017-2018 income for that particular property. Starting at page 22, moving on until page moving on to page 29 are the assessments of the similar properties. So 53 Furby being the first one on page 22, the remaining properties which were used as comparables following on after that. Page 31, once again, is the Johnson report. So what we can see on page 32 are the sales of 512 Balmoral. Sorry, I apologize here. And again, I apologize, I believe that 142 Furby was accidentally included within that. As well, if you look on page 33, this is the Johnson report. We have, at page 34, we have the sale of 613 Yonge. Or sorry, yeah, 142 Furby was included. So, so the sales that you can find on page 32, 32 contains 512 Balmoral. You can see the age there, the sale price, and the sale price per square foot, or sorry, sale price per suite. And then on page 34, we have 613 Yonge. So again, this is just supporting documentation for the sales that we've used in our analysis to provide that board that information. Starting on page 35 until the end of the package, it's just supporting documentation for the properties, so the assessment notice and the notice of hearing. With that, I conclude my presentation. I welcome any questions from either the assessor or from the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lucky, do you have questions?
I do. On page 3, or sorry, 5? Page 5, you're, again, you use the, this is the 18,
2,000,
pardon?
yes.
Okay, so the actual
Page
17 is lower,
Yeah, so the actual 17 acre would be a little lower for the
64,832.
Yeah, that's, here, just give me 1 second here. Yeah, so if you look on
9. Page 9.
page 9, yeah, you'll be able to find that information.
Right.
Yeah, so a couple $1,000s lower.
Right, okay. On page 8, your pictures, looks like the place has been, I mean, from the outside, it's been painted, looks like newer windows.
Are you asking me a question or just making?
Is that the case? Like, has it been, at least on the outside, upgraded? Newer windows and paint?
Honestly, I don't know, to be perfectly honest. So, for this particular property, we didn't ask about renovations on the property, so
Are these your pictures?
no, they're not. They're taken from Google Maps. So I did drive by the property, within the area, but these particular pictures are from Google Maps.
So they'd be historical, whenever Google Map had driven by?
No, so I believe the drive-by was in 2017 or 2018, so it's fairly recent.
17 or 18, or whenever they drove down the street.
Right, yeah, so within the last couple of years, certainly.
Okay, so when I look at the second picture, it looks like there's a dumpster for renovations.
There is a dumpster there, yeah. So
And
again,
there's a truck with a construction trailer.
Yep, and again, I can't speculate in terms of what they are or not doing, so.
But to put a dumpster that size, they must be doing some sort of renovations.
Again, I can't speculate.
Okay,
I would assume that if there's information, it would have been brought forward.
great. So then, just a different thought here on your cap rate sales on page 10. So when you use the subject information and applied that to these sales, what year of the subject did you use?
We did, we used the assessed information from the city of Winnipeg. This is generated from the model. So again, the reason we use the model information is that our understanding that if a model is being used for a property, the age of our property is similar to the sales that we're using, the location is similar, that the same model parameters would be used for all of these properties. So this is why we've done it this way.
So you're using the comparable model information and applying that to these comparables.
Correct. So the city of Winnipeg derives, my understanding, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is the city of Winnipeg derives a value for the property, rent, a vacancy for the area, as well as an expense ratio from a model.
Right.
Then when we look at these sales are all located within the Spence and West Broadway area, so they're located within the same area. When we look at the age of these properties, they're 1970, similar age in terms of the properties. So again, it would be our assumption that the same model parameters would be used for each one of these particular properties. As a result, this is what the resulting NOI would be as we calculate it. Because again, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we don't have access to the actual information. Property owners tend to be reluctant when someone phones them out of the blue and asks them what their rents are for the particular properties.
Right. But when we look at the pictures of the comparables, I mean, none of them have construction crews and dumpsters and whatnot parked by them. but we don't know what, you know, if these were purchased to be renovated, so then the subject, if it was renovated, its parameters wouldn't apply. Like, none of these have effective ages of 1989.
Right, so the ages of, well, I have the ages of each one of those properties. So again, unfortunately, I don't have access to what the effective age for each one of these properties are. I only have the information that I have available. So that information was gathered from the Johnson report. So if the city of Winnipeg has
The
updated,
effective age would show,
if the city, well, again, this is the Johnson report, so this would, how the city of Winnipeg determines what the effective age is, I'm not privy to that, and I suspect that the people who put together the Johnson report aren't either. So these are the ages of each one of these properties. So it's entirely possible that the city of Winnipeg has different effective ages on these properties. I'm not aware of that. But at the end of the day, regardless, when we look at these properties, you know, these are within the area, and I think the more telling consideration is what we can find on page 11. Our property is assessed at $109,000 per suite, but we don't see any of these properties. These properties are selling at a pretty consistent range of between $60,000 to $70,000 per suite. When we look at the value per square foot, we're looking we're looking anywhere between bit of a larger range, between $80 to $105 per square foot. And when we compare that to the subject property, we can see that that is significantly lower than what our property has been assessed at. So, again, coming back to the actual sales and looking at what the sales are showing us, and when we could, because instead of talking about how the capitalization rate is derived and this, that, we could see that sales in the area are taking place at a lot lower than the 109,000 that our property's been assessed at.
well, the sales you chose. If you look at the ones that I provided, I think a couple of them are at $100.
Right, but these are sales located within Spencer, West Broadway, so.
The ones you chose,
So we've,
right?
so again, we've looked at, so again, if there's other sales that were better, I would
Right.
assume that the city of Winnipeg would bring them forward.
Well, we don't look at sales comparables. We look at the income of the subject.
But at the end of the day, the capitalization rate is derived based on sales. So we have to look at sales. Sales are an important component of this whole aspect of coming up with a value. If we don't look at the sales, and we don't use that to drive our capitalization rate, how do we know? We could, again, it would be our position that when we look at this area, we see that there's a difference here, and we can see with the sales that have occurred, and I mean, we're looking at fairly recent sales, 2017 to 2018, that these sales are showing a much lower value on a per unit basis. So I think sales are important to consider, even if we're not looking at it on a per straight sale per square foot, there's still an important indicator at the end of the day to say, does this assessment make sense?
Any further questions?
No.
Mr. Fuller?
I think that a lot of the questions that I had are pretty well answered.
Mr. Vess?
You spoke with the owner of the property, your client?
Yes, I have.
Did you ask him about the overall condition of the building?
I did not know.
Did you ask him about his or her purchase in 2009 for $480,000?
I did not know.
So you never asked him what capitalization rate they had used at that time?
I did not know.
The Johnson report that you've cited on page 34, I believe it is, you've got some information from there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen those reports for a long time, but do they work out the capitalization rates on the Johnson report?
No, they don't.
They just report on sales?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all my questions, thank you.
Thank you.
So, you yourself didn't inspect the property? You
No.
didn't drive by?
I did drive by, I got into town last night, drove by. But beyond that, no, I have not done a physical internal inspection of the particular property.
Do you know what the previous assessment was?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Is this the first time this property's been brought to the board?
Again, this is the first time I've represented the property, so I can't speak to what has happened in prior years.
Okay, leave it with us. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Do we have a bathroom?
I was just gonna say, yes, we're just gonna take a 5-minute break. Okay, Mr. Lucky, take us through the last property here
The
at
last property.
181 Maryland.
Thank you. Sure. 181 Maryland Street is roll number 120-904-0000.
Yeah.
5 zeros?
Another zero.
Yeah, okay. Note to self, bring glasses next time. Our 2020 assessment is $1,134,000. We have a single building with a 2-story height, originally built in 1955 with an effective age of 1972. There's 11 suites and 8 outdoor parking stalls.
That's just land.
Page 2, we can see that all the returns have been sent to us. There's an old sale on it, not really applicable anymore. And the income approach is there's 5 bachelors, 6 1-bedrooms for a total of 11 suites. Our overall income is $839.54 per unit, and we have a 2.6% vacancy rate. So our effective gross income is $107,934 compared to the actual of $108,615. Our expense ratio of 49.57 gives us expenses of $53,505 in comparison to expenses of $54,600. So our net operating income is almost right on the actual unstabilized. We're at $54,433 and the actual is $53,998. The cap rate for this building is 4.8%, giving us a value of $1,134,000. Got some comparable rentals in the area. Some cap rate evidence and the actual income expense statement. The second to last page of that is actually the rent roll that shows our model is pretty right on. So I would ask that you accept our assessment as it stands. Welcome any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
I don't have anything for your inspection.
Thank you. Mr. Clark? Questions?
Yes. I was just curious, the subject sale history on 2006, was that just for the land?
No, normally sales this old, I wouldn't even include them, but I don't know why it sold for $199,000 in 2006, other than to say that apartments have more than doubled.
It's more than double.
But I mean, in one reassessment alone, they doubled in the past. They've been stable lately. this, assessment-wise, I don't have what the previous assessment is, but no, this sale, I don't know what was included or what it involved.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Do you have any information on the reason for changing from actual year to effective year? Any
No,
inspection
other
notes or
than,
anything?
as I said in the previous ones, somebody would have went and saw the property and at some point in the past and changed the effective age. It's not a, well, it's a change. It probably reflected somewhat significant improvements somewhere in the past.
181 Maryland, is this a good area to own a rental property in?
It's a good rental area for sure. We're seeing good rents. You know, these are bachelors and ones, and our average of $839 is pretty much right on the subject.
Is bachelor suites a good thing to have, or are they?
Well, you know, they're lower rent. There's demand.
Thank you, that's all my questions.
So, thank you. So, Mr. Lucky, you did not inspect this property, correct?
No,
Do you know when the last time it was inspected?
no, I didn't. Don't.
And you have no evidence as to the condition of the property?
No.
Page 3 and 4 of your brief, again, model driven.
Page 3, our model is almost exactly on.
Right.
Page 4, I chose those 4 comparable, rental comparables.
But those are actual?
I'm not sure if they're actual or model rents, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Page 2, the subject sale history in 2006. Do you know if that was an arm's length?
I don't know. I really don't pay any attention to sales unless they're pretty current.
Okay.
If there was a sale within the last couple of years, I would research it.
Okay. So do you have any knowledge if this is a Manitoba housing?
No, I believe it's owned by, well, you could tell me who owns it.
It's owned by a number company management.
Yeah.
A number company,
Yeah.
it's a private,
Okay, so there's no subsidies involved?
unless the people receive subsidization.
Okay.
But normally, the subsidized units are lower rent.
Okay. So, you're acknowledging this building was built in 55?
Right.
So that would make it effectively 70 years old. Even though it has an effective age, I'm just saying in terms of the mechanics, the mechanicals on the building, because we don't know if anything's been updated. We don't know if
We
there's
don't know
a,
that they have or haven't, no.
correct.
Right.
So we don't know if there's a 1955 boiler in the building or,
Right.
right, okay. That's all my questions. If you'd like to present.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Before the board, we should have our evidence brief. It should be 38 pages. The board will turn with me to page 3 of the brief. Again, on page 3, we have our testimonial evidence. We identified 3 issues, 2 of those which we'll be discussing today. One will be the capitalization rate, and the second will be the sale of similar properties in the area. The board will turn with me to page 4. We have the current assessment, so this has been provided by the owner from the City of Winnipeg portal for that particular property, showing the income parameters used to calculate the assessment for that property. Page 5 is the requested assessment. So again, just to note, this was calculated using 2018 information. However, the 2017 information is within a few $1,000s, so it's fairly similar in terms of what the net operating income is. Page 6 is a map which we've used for showing the location of 181 Maryland. So this is from the City of Winnipeg Assessments Department search. Page 7 is a site map which has been provided courtesy of Google Maps. Page 8 and page 9 are just 2 photos of the subject property. And page 10, we have the valuation procedure showing the income, the revenue and expenses for 2017 and 2018 for this particular property, as well as what the calculated net operating income is. So as you can see, the net operating income for 2017 is just a couple $1,000s more than 2018. Page 11, we have the information starting to discuss for the capitalization rate. So here we've identified the four sales that we've utilized in determining what the capitalization rate should be for this particular property. You can see that we've used sales at 613 Yonge Street, 512 Balmoral, 277 Lakeside, and 142 Furby. Years of construction of these properties range from 1970 to 1974. The number of suites range from 9 to 47. The average suite size, which is calculated taking the total area of the building divided by the number of suites, ranges from 655 square feet to 791. These properties sold 2017 and 2018 with their sale price there. To calculate the net operating income, what we've used the model generated income for the subject property. We've divided that by the number of suites within the subject property to get the model generated net operating income per suite. Using this model generated net operating income per suite, we've then multiplied that by the suites in each one of the comparable properties to get the estimated NOI. Again, each one of these properties are located in a similar area, so between either Spence or Yonge, as well as similar year construction, similar effective age. Using this technique, we get capitalization rates ranging from 7.26% up to 8.25%, with an average of 7.79%. If the board will turn with me to the next page, page 12, we have the sales comparables. So again, we use these same sales located in Spence and West Broadway. We divide the sale price by both the number of units as well as the building area to get a sale price per square foot and sale price per suite. If you look on the property, you can see that if you look on the bottom, you can see the subject property at 181 Maryland. You can see the property is assessed at $103,091 per suite. When you look above, you can see that the sales in the area are transacting between $60,000 and $70,000 per suite. Again, when you look at the sale price per square foot, you can see the subject property is assessed at a value of $142.11 per square foot, compared to the comparable sales which we've identified, which have sold for values ranging between between $80 to $105 per square foot. We've calculated the median and the average for each one of those below. Page 13 is a map of the sales. So again, what we've shown here is we've just mapped out the sales in comparison to the subject property, just showing where they're located in the city, so you can see they're located in fairly close proximity to the subject property. Page 14, 15, 16, and 17 are just exterior pictures of each one of those properties, so the board can put through those at their leisure. Page 18, again, recognizing the fact that the board is not looking at equity, but what we have is we have the assessments for each one of those properties that transacted in comparison to the subject property, and we can see that they're quite a bit lower. So in conclusion, after looking at the subject property and the two approaches to value, the first would be the income approach. So using the income as well as the 7.8% capitalization rate, M&P has arrived at a valuation of $679,577. The second approach is considering the sales approach. Using this, we've valued the property at a value ranging from $695,000 to $700,000. After reviewing the information and looking at both approaches, M&P is requesting a value of $700,000 for the the 2020 and 2021 assessment year, based on the income approach as well as the sales comparison approach. Starting on page 21, page 22, we have the income statement, income and expense statement for the subject property. So just outlining what the revenue is and what the expenses were for that particular property. Page 23, continuing on until page 27 are just the assessment documents for each one of the comparables used. Page 29 is the Johnson report. So on page 30, it identifies the three of the four sales we've utilized. So you can see 512 Balmoral, 142 Furby, and 277 Langside, as well as the year of construction and the sale date and price for each one of those particular properties. Then starting on page 31 and 32, we have the for sale, which is 613 Young. Again, the Johnson report outlining the age of that particular property, the sale price, as well as the sale price per suite. Starting on page 33 and moving till the end is just supporting documentation for this particular property, so the notice of hearing as well as the assessment notice. With that, I conclude my presentation. I welcome any questions from either the city or from the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lucky?
So, when you use the 2017 information, income and expense information, we're less than $1,000 apart in NOI?
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions. If I could just summarize.
Sure, at the end.
All three, yeah, about
Can we
all
do
three.
this at the end, though?
That's what I was gonna say,
Yeah,
at the end.
Yeah, thank you. Questions?
The presentation's similar in every case, and the approach is similar in every case, and I have no questions.
A question or two. All three of these properties are owned by the same owner, I take it?
The owners may vary, but the property management company is the same, correct?
Okay, so my question, did you speak to the property management company about this property?
I did have conversations about this particular
As
project.
to its present condition, average condition, stuff like that?
Again, and the conversations weren't specifically in terms of condition, just more in terms of the income the property is generating, and any additional information they could provide me.
Okay. So, you did not inspect the property?
No, I did not. I drove by the property. I did not do an internal physical inspection of the property.
Thank you, that's all my questions.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions. Mr. Lucky, you have a wish to give a summation?
Sure, thank you. I'd just like to say quickly, we did make every effort. We came to an agreement on 3 of the properties where, I recognized that our assessment was a little off. These 3, the NOIs are pretty much right on it. So I would just like to say, our model works. If income and expenses, they're all a function. You have cap rate, income and expense, and if we're generating correct answers, then our cap rates are correct. And, I've presented some actual cap rates, I would ask that you accept them, and that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you have a wish for a summation?
Sure, yeah. So in terms of the properties that we've looked at, and I agree, the income and expenses are very similar. We're not contesting that. We don't have an issue with that. What our issue really is with the capitalization rates and what the final resulting value of these properties are. So again, I think when we look at these particular properties and we look at sales that have occurred within the area, we see that our properties are assessed at over $100 per suite. And recognizing that the city has provided some sales, 4 sales, I believe, of their of properties that have transacted, but when we look at sales that have transacted within West Broadway and Spence, so specifically within the areas that these properties are located, as well as, having a similar effective age of the properties, we see that these sales are selling at a much lower rate on a per suite basis. So anywhere between 60 and 70,000 versus the 100,000 plus per suite that we're assessed at. So again, it would be our contention that when we look at this, while the income is correct, that the capitalization rate does suggest that the sales do suggest that the capitalization rate is incorrect. And as such, MMP is respectfully requesting the board to reduce those assessments of those properties. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your presentations, and this hearing is concluded.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Nice to meet both of you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.